While there's absolutely no denying that most video games are developed primarily to make money, there's more often than not some sort of underlying artistic spark coming from a genuine place of creativity. But sometimes that spark can be one of anger, fueled by either the industry, some current personal situation, or just because the developer goddamn hates everyone. So let's take a look at these throbbing head veins today. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 video games probably made out of spite. Number 10. Duke Nukem Forever. When Duke Nukem Forever was announced back in 1997, just a year after the release of the acclaimed iconic Duke Nukem 3D, nobody would have ever dubbed it as a project greenlit out of spite. But as the years wore on and the game's development became increasingly strained, with various unrelated spin-off Duke titles coming and going, Duke Nukem Forever became the laughingstock of the entire industry. With the game press dubbing it Duke Nukem Taking Forever following numerous delays, developers 3D Realms responded by declaring in 2001 that it would be released when it's bloody done. For most of the next decade, players and journalists alike assumed the game would never come out, while also questioning whether Duke Nukem as a character could hold up in an increasingly progressive, sexism-averse society. The intense doubt surrounding the game's release was exacerbated by the downsizing of the original dev team in 2009, and in the very same year, publisher Take-Two Interactive filed a lawsuit against 3D Realms for failing to deliver a complete build of the game. But in 2010, it was confirmed that the game was indeed in development as a co-production between Triptych Games, Gearbox Software, and Piranha Games. Duke Nukem Forever was finally released in the summer of 2011 to unsurprisingly negative reviews, citing both its dated gameplay and now unappealing protagonist, leading to sales being just half of Take-Two's expectations. Needless to say, the game was laboured over for 15 years, and it's easy to appreciate that pervasive mockery surrounding the project only further encouraged 3D Realms to keep pushing the outdated, flagrantly bigoted boulder up that stupid hill. Number 9. Metal Gear Survive. You won't find many games that rustled more feathers through their sheer existence than Metal Gear Survive. The survival game spin-off to Hideo Kojima's iconic action stealth franchise was immediately derided by fans when it was announced in the summer of 2016, almost a year after Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain hit shelves. Survive was the first Metal Gear game developed without Kojima due to his acrimonious split from Konami following the completion of The Phantom Pain, and given its marked departure from the gameplay, style, and tone of the Metal Gear games, many felt like it effectively flipped the bird at Kojima. With its emphasis on felling zombie-like enemies, microtransaction-driven multiplayer, and the requirement that players are permanently connected to the internet, it was understandably interpreted as a soulless, bitter attempt to milk the Metal Gear brand after Kojima's exit. The fact that Konami licensed a series of Metal Gear-branded pachinko machines shortly before Survive's announcement only further fueled the belief that the publisher was basically turning the IP into a merchandising carousel now that Kojima was out of the picture. Survive went on to receive mixed to negative reviews from most critics and also underwhelm at retail. Number 8. RETURNAL. The recently released PS5 roguelike shooter RETURNAL delivers one of the most impressive developer glow-ups in recent gaming history, as Finnish outfit House Marquee went on from developing more modest shooters like Resogun and Nex Machina to an insanely ambitious, critically acclaimed third-person shooter which Sony considers a mega hit. As great as RETURNAL is though, it's clear that House Marquee's decision to move away from niche retro-styled shooters towards something closer in style to, and I hate to say it, Dark Souls in space wasn't something that they actually did by choice. Because back in 2017, the co-founder and CEO of House Marquee spoke bluntly about the commercial underperformance of their most acclaimed titles, namely the raved-about Nex Machina, before confirming that the company would no longer be developing arcadey shooters. He had this to say: "The core thing is that there's no paying audience for games like this, or we can't reach them, and I don't know how these people can be reached if they haven't heard about our games already. We would love to have continued developing Nex Machina for years to come to support the audience that has been loyal to us, but unfortunately, there's not enough of those guys." So with this mentality, the developer basically switched focus to develop more larger scale, more mainstream skewing products, which did end up resonating with a large group of players. But as a cherry on top, Returnal's success led to House Marquee being acquired by Sony just 2 months after its release, so I guess that's a happy ending. Number 7. Call of Duty. Nobody could have ever predicted the unprecedented success of the Call of Duty franchise, which before becoming an unstoppable commercial juggernaut with 2007's Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, staked its claim as a more modest competitor to the more popular at the time Medal of Honor series. The original 2003 game was created by new studio Infinity Ward, after co-founder Vince Zampella had worked at 2015 Incorporated as a co-designer of the universally acclaimed Medal of Honor Allied Assault, with EA trying to absorb 2015 Incorporated into EA so that the next game could be developed in-house. Zampella and co-designer Jason West both decided to leave the studio and form their own outfit, Infinity Ward. Ultimately, all 22 original members of Infinity Ward were brought over from the Allied Assault team at 2015 and helped create Call of Duty, which, in addition to being a bit of a f*** you to EA, in Zampella's own words, was also internally called the Medal of Honor Killer. As we all know, Call of Duty's surging popularity caused Medal of Honor's decline in the years that followed, and though West and Zampella enjoyed enormous success publishing their new franchise under Activision, that relationship also has had its limitations, because number 6, Titanfall. After Infinity Ward's Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare proved to be a groundbreaking critical and commercial success in 2007, West and Zampella used their newfound clout to renegotiate their contracts with publisher Activision in 2008. Activision agreed to larger bonuses and more creative control for the pair in exchange for Modern Warfare 2 being released in 2009, albeit with the asterisk that Activision would regain creative control if West and Zampella were ever fired. And here's where things get ugly. Activision ended up firing the pair for breach of contract and insubordination, even having security march them out of the office under the belief that they were trying to set up a new independent studio while taking many Infinity Ward employees with them. Various settlements were eventually reached out of court, during which time West and Zampella did set up a new studio, Respawn Entertainment, with 38 employees resigning from Infinity Ward to come and join them. And here's the kicker: Respawn ended up publishing their work through EA, who allowed them to retain all intellectual rights to their original titles. This led to the creation of Respawn's revolutionary shooter Titanfall, which was naturally dubbed a Call of Duty killer in the game press. While ultimately failing to unseat Call of Duty as the first-person shooter king, it nevertheless delivered a huge breath of fresh air in the genre space, as did its superior sequel. Number 5, Radical Heights. Hero shooter Lawbreakers was released in 2017, with developer Cliffy B hoping that his irreverent take on the genre would be worth a retail purchase, rather than being just a free-to-play release as originally planned. Despite solid acclaim, Lawbreakers failed to find an active community, in part due to it never being released on Xbox One, resulting in the game's servers being deactivated barely a year after launch. But several months before Lawbreakers was officially shuttered, Cliffy B evidently realized that the writing was on the wall and attempted to cash in on another hot trend at the time, the Battle Royale genre. In 2018, while Lawbreakers were still letting out a prolonged death rattle, Cliffy B announced Radical Heights, a PUBG-esque Battle Royale game which was released in early access shortly thereafter. The announcement and the game itself were both met with considerable derision by players and the press, noting its blatantly thrown together state and the perception that Cliffy B was hastily chasing a flashy trend rather than actually trying to make a game out of artistic inspiration. A month after the game entered early access, Boss Key Productions was shut down due to the commercial failures of both Lawbreakers and Radical Heights. Yikes. Number 4, Manhunt 2. Rockstar's 2003 stealth horror game Manhunt was released to enormous controversy due to its high level of graphic violence, which a year later led to a moral panic being incited by the British press, suggesting that the killer of a 14-year-old boy may have been trained by the game. This naturally only led to Manhunt becoming a more sought-after item worldwide, and despite Rockstar's understandable frustration at their grisly game being linked to real-life killings, they pretty much seemed to double down on it for the sequel, because controversy creates cash after all. Depressing, right? Within 2 days of Manhunt 2 being announced, before any gameplay footage had been released, campaigners began calling for the game to be banned, and the situation only became more heated as its release neared. Many ratings boards around the world refused to classify Manhunt 2 due to its extreme violence, deemed to be far in excess of the original Manhunt, such that it was only released in some territories with brutal executions blurred out and the point-scoring system removed. Though the reviews were ultimately wildly mixed, it's clear that Rockstar saw the hysterical reaction to the original game and decided to one-up things for the sequel, no matter the enormous hassle that it was going to cause them. Number 3, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. Sometimes publishers decide to greenlight games not because they've got a particularly worthwhile idea, but simply because they want to make the most of their licensing rights before they expire, and that's precisely what happened with the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater franchise. Though the series had been flagging for many years, Activision opted to rush a fifth mainline game through production before their deal with Tony Hawk expired in 2015. Like most of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater games made by Robomodo, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 was near universally panned by critics for its janky, bug-filled gameplay and how obviously it just wasn't anywhere close to being complete. It was painfully clear that Activision wanted to squeeze a little extra cash out of the series without any care for the actual quality of the release, further tarnishing the once good name of Tony Hawk in the process. But Activision made good with Hawk last year with the release of the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 Remaster Collection, which received strong positive reviews and became the fastest-selling game in the franchise. Number 2. Hatred. In 2014, Destructive Creations announced their new isometric shooter, Hatred, which cast players as a misanthropic mass shooter tasked with slaughtering as many helpless civilians as possible. Hatred was immediately controversial, prompting the director of the game to retort that the game was intended to be a reaction to the perceived surge of political correctness in games, challenging controversial notions of both morality and art. Except what it was a game for water cooler masturbators who wanted to just say, look how cool it was that I shot a man in the face with a shotgun. I don't want to waste any more time talking about this game. It's a piece of trash and it deserves to be in the bin. And number 1, Muck. I don't think that there has been a video game in history that has been more literally created out of spite than the recently released free-to-play multiplayer survival game, Muck. You see, popular YouTuber Danny received a reply to one of his posts where a user mockingly challenged him to make his own multiplayer survival game, and despite the months of work that it would entail, Danny did just that. The Minecraft-esque Musk was created in Unity by Danny, who used various online tutorials to create the most basic gameplay systems and then implement more complex elements such as procedural generation. Despite being a game pretty much made for the laughs, Muck released to enthusiastic reviews from the Steam community, where it holds a very positive average rating from roughly 70,000 players. For a game that could have so easily been a charmless, slung-together anti-game in the name of humor, the fact that it actually functions at all is insanely impressive. So you know what? Bravo. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 video games probably made out of spite. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Twitter at RetroJ0, or you can swing by Live and Let's Dice. That's Dice with a C, where I do all of my streaming outside of work, as well as my Warhammer battle reports, and it'd be great to see you over there, my friends. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. We detailed today a lot about video games that are effectively made out of anger. But you know what? Anger as an emotion is such a draining experience. It's something that actually takes so much effort to hold on to, and I don't want you to have that in your life. So go out there with love in your heart instead of hate. Try to build bridges instead of burning them. And if you have the capability to do so, forgive people who have wronged you in the past, because you know what? They don't deserve to have a control over you in any sense whatsoever. You deserve to live the best life that you possibly can, free of the weight of hatred and resentment. All I want is for you to live a healthy and happy life and to remember that you're a massive ledge, alright? As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.